following program on Ada Derana 24 is classified for general audience. It is intended for all ages. It contains little or no violence, no strong language, and little or no sexual dialogue or situations. The following program contains opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed without any censorship and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to another program of Get Real, where we talk to notable newsmakers here at home and abroad. We try to give you a different perspective and not go with the mainstream narrative that you see on a daily basis in news programs. This is something that you very well know what happens here on Get Real. And tonight I want to talk about our SME sector, the small and medium enterprise sector in Sri Lanka. Now, they contribute to over 52% of the GDP in our economy, and they are the backbone of our economy, so to speak. So when our country is going through a thickened economic crisis, we have to ask the question, how exactly is this small and medium enterprise sector is faring? Because if we are applying solutions to rectify the economy, we have to apply solutions that is beneficial for them. People like you who are watching at home, who has a small scale industry contributing to the society, making sure that you provide jobs, employment for at least 10, 15, 20, 30 people. And in an instance like that, are you feeling okay with regard to the solutions that the government has been taking? Let me correct that, that the IMF has told the government to take. So in order to discuss that, tonight I've invited Mrs.Tania Abeysundara, who is the Chairwoman of Ceylon United Business Alliance. Welcome to the program. Like I said, we have been having chats off camera and all, but never on Get Real. So it's good to see you right across and have a chat with you with regard to this entire sector. Madam, let me point blank ask you, and I would like to get a blunt response as well. Is the SME sector good these days? Are you all doing well?
Thank you, Mahieash, for having me back again, and Ayubowan. Absolutely no. I could say the SME is drowned. I could not drowned is a good way of putting. We have been murdered. Yeah. Absolutely, the governments over and over in their entire lifetime of running this country, multiple governments have little by little, never cared about the SME, and this was the final point, not caring at all. And mind you, it's only just talk, no action.
Madam, last year, somewhere around in April, all these economic pundits in our country told that we are bankrupt. The Sri Lanka is a bankrupt nation, along with the central bank governor, who I think was brought in to default this nation's credibility, basically said, we're bankrupt, no money, everything is gone. But your sector, the SME sector, is the sector that contributes to around 52% of the GDP, which means you all basically upholds the economy. That economy, these guys are saying, is bankrupt. So, were we bankrupt?
Mahieash, we were never bankrupt. The country was never bankrupt. Up to date, the country is not bankrupt. The government was bankrupt. The government made the country bankrupt for their own benefit. Mind you, if a country was bankrupt, you and I can't be sitting. Yeah. We would be in queues. How can a queue that was created just disappear overnight if the country was bankrupt? We had petrol queues. Suddenly, next day, there is a change of government and there is no queue. And they had huge power cuts. And suddenly there is a 300% increment on electricity and the power cut goes. So where do you think all these dollars came, and do you buy fuel, coal with rupees? We need dollars. So a bankrupt country suddenly came into life when there is changes. So the country was never bankrupt. The government made the country bankrupt, and for their benefits, even up to today, they are drowned in this country for their own reasons and their own benefits. And this is the sad part, Mahieash, and that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
The survival of a country depends on the SMEs, small and medium entrepreneurs. Everywhere in the world, that is the major point what everybody takes. For them, any country's survival is the small and medium. Because countries, any part of the world, the GDP rotates around the SME. Even in Sri Lanka, we are the biggest taxpayers. We are the biggest revenue generators. We are the biggest people expenditure in the country. The spending power is also among the SME. Because most of these big companies, multinational and the niche crowd, are not the people who spend in this country.
And that's exactly what it is. Now, what the government, along with all these economic pundits who are there trying to tell the rest of the world is Sri Lanka is bankrupt, is basically saying, without directly saying, is that you guys, the 52%, the SME sector, didn't do enough in order to keep the economy going. You guys failed. That's why the economy is bankrupt. Do you buy that?
Absolutely no. I mean, mind you, it is us who has been always the backbone of the country's economy. Even up to now, when the country is in such a dilemmatic situation, when the government is taking in unprecedented decisions and unorthodox regulations are being brought upon us, who is still running the country? It's the SMEs. If not for us, the government will not have money to, all these unnecessary expenses. Even today, has the government even cut a rupee out of their expense? Now, if you were to take the country's GDP, our GDP is about 78 billion. Out of that, 51% of our GDP goes to government expenses and salaries. 51%.
And those expenditure includes luxury lifestyle.
Luxurious lifestyles of the high authorities who are implementing these rules and regulations. Mind you, and running a parliament, running an institute, running a government sectors, all this comes into it. We have 15 government servants to one Sri Lankan. We take India, the closest nation to us. Every I think 60 person has one government. So
it's the other way around here.
So this country should be a paradise. Because we have so many government entities trying to look after us. Mind you, tell me one given time, we can get anything done out of this government institutes. You go in there, you are being rustified to another level. You go into any of these departments, can you get your work done? So we as taxpayers, we pay taxes to run a country, not to run a government. So all these taxes, end of the day, we don't have any benefits. So the sad part here is, Mahieash, we do and we get nothing in return. And they do nothing and they get everything in return.
And last year's unrest that came, I'm not talking about this joke that happened in Gulf-Face, I'm talking about the rest of the country where people went onto the streets and started fighting and were screaming at the government to do something. Their pulse came to tell them that the way you have been running our country for 75 years is wrong, because you live a better life, just like you said right now, and we are suffering. We are just asking for the basic stuff like fuel, gas, and electricity. You can't even give us that. But you have tax.
Forget about fuel, gas, and electricity. We are asking a basic stuff of 3 meals a day.
Yeah. Exactly.
What basic can you go get to? Exactly.
So in an instant like that, what the people of this country was telling the government, the authorities, the way you have been running for 75 years, please stop it, change. Do you think the government has got the message?
Do you think the government has got the message? I am asking you the same question. I think this is like, when somebody is deaf and dumb, there is no need for us to talk no longer because they don't neither see nor hear. So it's the same situation. They go on their own path. They have delusional situation. They have made this country into wanting to make to believe the people that everything will be okay in time to come, and you be patient.
So that's exactly what has been done.
That's exactly what they're doing. It doesn't matter. This is a situation not created by us, the government. This is a situation created by you, the people. So now you be patient. We, the government, has nothing. So we don't have to be patient. We'll live our luxurious lives. Tell me, is there any of these people who have been taking decisions? Is their families here? Do they even know what basic food is? Where they come into a seat not having nothing, but we give in a couple of years, they have everything and we have nothing. So the sad situation here, Mahieash, is why are they doing this? Why are they still doing this?
Let's talk about the solution that this government is trying to tell you that needs to be applied into this economic crisis is basically the blueprint that is being provided by the IMF. And that blueprint has been provided by the IMF for the past 16 times that they actually came into this country, and they are saying the 17th time is the charm. So 17 is the time that Sri Lanka's economy flipped prosperity to all, basically. That's what they're telling. Right now, they have taken certain steps in order to keep the banking sector running, the import-export market, regulated, and then there are certain other elements that has come into play that is being stipulated by the IMF. Do this, do that, whatever. The taxes is the biggest issue here. What they're saying is the government expenditure. The gap needs to be filled, and that has to be done by collecting the taxes. So when they came, I think about a couple of weeks back, the only complaint they had, I think if you read the press release, what they said was, okay, but you haven't collected the taxes, enough taxes. So basically the next step is going to be they're going to increase taxes some more. How? This is what they're going to say. Is that solution that has been proposed by the IMF, is it working for you all? And is it addressing the issue, the core issue that is not allowing the SME sector to function in a prosperous manner?
Mahieash, absolutely no. This is why we have authorities sitting on a table talking to the IMF of the real situation of the country. Now, if they really feel it, that's what they would be saying. Increasing unorthodox taxes of this magnitude is not ethical at a situation of this time, because we as people cannot afford to. I am a SMV. I mean, I had a workforce about 800 to 1,000 people. But today it has gone down to 400 people, not even 400. I have closed down 3 of my factories. So these are all revenue.
The reason you closed them down?
Because for the simple reason, our liabilities are more than our generated income. So we cannot sustain no longer. We cannot pay unnecessary, this magnitude taxes and bank interest and the utility bills all accumulated together. How are we going to sustain a business when we have to increase our productivity by 300%? The consumer market in this country cannot afford an increment of 300% on our production.
Who's telling the 300% increment is required?
Because simply the power, all the utilities have gone up by 300%. The fuel went up by 300%. Taxes have gone up by 300%. Bank interests have gone up by more than 300%. So with all this coming together, it's in one huge jar compacted. Now there is no way to explore, there is no room. So what happens is, end of the day, whatever we manufacture has to be added on to all this. And who is going to pay? The consumer. The consumer is who? The local people.
Yeah.
Where you and I are the consumers in this market, not the people who are implementing these decisions. So these consumers who have a basic wage, where their salaries only have gone up by 30 to 40%. When your salary has only increased by 30% and when your living cost has gone up by 300%, how are they going to ever balance their lifestyle?
Apparently, the government must be thinking that we have the money tree at home, so we can go and pluck it from that and basically provide for this thing. Let me ask this question as well. In order for you to function you said that these are the issues the SME sector has. Have you told the government? Because what you're explaining right now makes sense to me as a person. I'm not an economist, but still it makes sense to me, because what you're saying is, we can't increase when you are taxing us dry. So a business cannot function when the liabilities are high and the income is low. That's basic economic, like the lowest person who sells even a bulat in a small market would understand. that I can't pay more to get bulat and sell it for a lower price. I can't make losses. That doesn't work. Have you told this to the government?
Mind you, Mahieash, this thing, what we are speaking with you today has been spoken, I don't know, multiple times when this happened, when the previous president was there. I think one of the last meetings was with us, with the SMEs. And I think the central bank governor just came into his seat. And mind you, he cannot get away from this, because he would have been out of the country for a couple of years. But he has been in the central bank, in the system, as long as time he knows. So everybody knew the exact situation of the country other than us and you and the people. But the government and the country, people who ran the country, exactly knew what was the case, and including him. So when we had this final meeting with the previous president, you know what he told us? If he cannot, close our companies. If he cannot, don't pay. If he can't facilitate our loans, not to pay. If he can't, close down, retrench. I mean,
are you serious?
I am very serious. I'm seriously talking, because the former president was there, mind you, the governor was there, and there were so many other authorities. And this was told to us, and today it has happened. And we told multiple times, we have been telling, given this, more than 1 million would go out of jobs. And that has happened today. Today the country, more than 1 million people will be out of jobs by end of the year. More than 300 to 500 SMEs have closed down.
Yeah.
So more than 20% of the SMEs was shut down, 30% are virtually shutting down. So just imagine the plight of a country, because we as a workforce, if you take, we have nearly 4.5 million workforce in the SMEs. Out of, we have about 8 million workforce. So out of that, more than 50% are coming under the SME. And if you were to take the micro and everything, it's a huge. So the government sector has about 17 million. The private, where you call the blue chip company. 17
million workforce in the government sector?
Yeah, sorry, sir, 1.7 million.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Because out of the 8 million, 1.7 million is, and then if you were to take the multinational companies and the blue chip companies, there's about 2.3 million. But the rest comes under micro and the SMB.
Before we go for a break, I want to get, I want to basically understand this. Now, you're saying the SMEs, now 300 to 400 SMEs are shutting down. It's on the verge of losing, basically going for bankruptcy. All that is happening for the SME sector. But madam, from 2022 up until now, we see headlines coming from various multinational companies saying profitable year. They have got the best of, they perform so well. Oh, this bank managed to get 8% of profits. This and that is occurring. It's all throughout, because we know it, because our business desk receive all these press releases, and they ask us, put it out there. The multinationals, all of them are apparently doing something right that is getting them that particular amount of profits. What's their formula, and why isn't it working for you all?
Simple. Because these multinational companies, it's 90% of these companies are funded by another sector. I mean, they have a collateral funder. And the other 50% is an investor, 50% is government money itself. Because these...
So the taxpayer money?
Yeah, the government has lent them. When you bring in a project report, 50% is lent by a government institute bank. So, if you were to take, 80% of their funding is not theirs. So, they have the money to play around. And mind you, all these companies have offshore accounts.
Yeah.
I mean, if they are saying no, that is a lie themselves. Because why? Because all these companies have their branches abroad. So, any order is being placed there, the money comes there. Whatever that is necessary only comes into the country. So all this offshore account funding is there for them to play around at any given time. But we as SMEs, what do? Our
You don't have offshore accounts.
We don't have offshore account. We don't have an investor. Our collateral is our own living house and property. And when we keep collateral as to generate funds for our businesses, what happens when, according to the Parata execution law, when a company is no longer performing, they have the right to acquire.
Mm-hmm.
So what is happening is, now this is a conspiracy. Mind you, I'm calling it, because most of the time all this Parata law execution that is happening, all these are being acquired by these blue chip companies or big companies as another sector, SME sector, where they acquire our businesses and they run it as a smaller business. So end of the day, the SME that we call ourselves will have a gradual death, and there won't be no more SMEs in this country. And this is created by the government. This is created by the system. This is created by this monster who is very unfairly taking decisions to, eliminate.
No consultation with the SMEs?
Absolute. Even up to now, there are no proper consultations. I mean, we get, invited through other sources to represent the ADB, World Bank, the IMF, but never the government gives us a chance of meeting them, because the truth would be told, and the truth is ugly and bad.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yes. Thank you very much for being so candid about it and actually taking the ability to speak out freely, because that is vital. We first need to know what the problem is. We need to know where the blockages are, and we need to then find solutions in order to address that problem, which is still not happening. Let's take a short commercial break. I'm in conversation with Mrs.Tania Abeysundara from the Ceylon United Business Alliance. She is the chairwoman, and as you can see, it has been a very eye-opening conversation thus far. A lot more to discuss. This is Get Real. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Get Real. I'm in conversation with Tania Abeysundara, the chairwoman of Ceylon United Business Alliance, basically a group of SMEs that have come together in order to fight for their survival here, despite the fact that they are the biggest GDP contributor in our country. Apparently, as you can understand, have been, treated like even worse than beggars, I would say, by the government, the people who are there to basically take care of us. Well, I'm pretty sure when she's speaking and she's bringing out those issues, you are feeling it as well at home. You know what she's speaking is right, because each and every one of us is going through this crisis, not the top 1%. And that's where apparently the solutions are coming from the top 1%, so you can understand why it's not working for us. Madam, let's talk about solutions. Right now, in order for you all to function, what exactly do you want the government to do? If they are not listening, if they are not inviting, this is a chance for you to tell exactly. And I might tell you, just put it in a very simple bullet form so that they can understand. So exactly what is required by the government, the so-called government is there to help you, for them to do in order to get things up and running, because I think we can come out of this crisis very soon.
I mean, mind you, Mahieash, thank you for that question, because when I need to touch on two things what you said about the top 1%. These top 1 elite so-called blue chip companies and the elite lot, who are the people who are there in implementing the decision makers to make decisions in favor of them. And like you said, the 52% contributed to the GDP economically, us. We have never been invited to any of these. What we always have asked is something doable, because we have never been unreasonable, because SMVs are people, establishments.
On the ground.
No, we have never been a bother to the government, because we are not the micro where we want anything for anything free. We have asked the government nothing. We have only asked the government in implementing rules that will be, workably sustainable for us. But right now, all rules that have been implemented are not on our survival, because every rule today is bringing us down. So what we have asked the government are very basic, to bring down the interest. The government says it has brought down the interest. Of course, yes, it brought down the interest for people who reschedule their loans. That was people who could not pay their loan. What happens is, Mahieash, let me explain this to you.
Yeah, please do.
When you take a loan, what happens is whenever you acquire a loan, you are in the crib. So the crib is the place where you identify yourself to say if you're a performing person or a non-performing person. So everybody who takes a loan goes to the crib.
Yeah.
So how you will be identified to say you're credit worthy is according to the crib. So what happened was, after the moratorium was given, when people have not paid their loans because of the country situation created by the government, not created by us, when we were put into a situation where our businesses fell down, our loans were not in a position to be paid. So what happened was, all this money that we took as loans were created into loan over a loan, and then interest over interest was applied, and there was a new loan that was created. For that loan, you got a reduction of interest rate, where people got it at 13 to 15% according to your capability. But today, even today, you cannot have a working capital loan other than less than 18%. Mind you, why? For the simple reason, the treasury bills are still going at 13 to 15%. So it's always where the treasury bill and the big bond and will be the decisive factor for the AWPLR rate, because this will be the factor where the AWPLR rate will be evaluated on. So when we go for a loan today, there are no fixed loan rates. You go on a AWPLR. So it's always AWPLR plus 1.5 to 3% according to the customer's credibility.
The working capital, why is it required? Because there is this idea among each and every one who's not running a business. Once you put the money and you have an established company, you don't need loans. You can basically, you all are well to do or anything of that nature. What is this working capital that you're always asking the banks to provide?
Absolutely, because the SMVs are always, there are organizations where they run on a rotating credit facility, because for us to generate our businesses, we always have to give credit to the buyer. So we as a supplier, we also sometimes get credit from our buyers, but we, in other words, give credit to our buyers. So always there is a credit between 30 to 90 days. So it is a revolving credit that the company runs on. So what happens is, when the country is put into a situation where the consumer market has been contracted, but we as manufacturers, we still have to manufacture. So what we have done,
the demand still remains the same.
No, demand has gone down, but as suppliers, we have to supply, keep manufacturing, otherwise we have to close our factories. So we have done that. Retrench, because today we can't retrench people, because we have to pay our labor laws are such that soon as we retrench a person, we have to give 6 months salary. Yeah. So how can a company retrench 100 people and give 6 months salary? We don't have the funds. We don't have the basic funds for us to survive. So what happens is, we rather run a company, run a factory, keep running, generating little by little, and pay a basic salary and keep the company going. So what happened was, from last April to now, we have been producing. So the December season was very bad.
Last year.
So what we produced last April was carried forward to the December season. But the consumer market got contracted by 60%. Mind you, 60% is a huge number.
So these products that you're talking about are just clothes, anything.
Any product, every consumer product that was manufactured in this country was, we had a bulk stock of getting carried forward for more than 5 months. So what happens, the consumer is no longer in an able situation to spend, so their last liabilities of their first instant, their liabilities come first, but paying the electricity bill. Because if you do not pay your bill, next day you get a red notice and it's been cut off. Mind you, they won't even, there are government servants, they don't pay bills for years.
Yeah.
But we don't pay a bill for 5 days. From the time the bill has been sent, within a month, the bill. So what happens? Our first priority will be electricity, water. Then trying to, whoever who uses public transport, they will have money to do that, or for fuel. Then if you have taken a loan, we have to facilitate that. Then comes for your survival of your food, basic need. So when those are being given, you don't have even enough money to buy food end of the day. Because when you have a salary of 80,000 rupees, when you are paying electricity bill about 20,000, water bill about 3,000, and the rest works out to about 50,000-60,000. So you have about 30,000 left for your food. Then where is the money for extra expenditure? So this niche market, this economical growth is only in Colombo. And mind you, this lavish life is led by people who are making these decisions.
The problem is very clear, and the solution is also very clear. But it's sad that our leaders have not realized that it needs to be implemented to benefit every Sri Lankan, rather than that particular elite class, whom I call the Colombo liberal idiot class, because they continue to thrive. Not just, if you look at all the hotels in Colombo, all the areas where there is fun activity, they're full, they're doing very well. Because,
very well, absolutely. You try getting a table.
And because of the fact that the elite class can continue to function in that level. But if you go down south, if you go into the eastern side, you see a lot of SME, like small boutique hotels, absolutely dried up, and they don't know what to do right now. And most of them tells people like us that there's no help. And that's the sad part, why the government is not addressing it, and they're just addressing to the Colombo crowd. Madam, you said about the tax rates. What else that needs to be done?
Interest rate has to come down. For do so, the treasury bills have to come down. When we call this country bankrupt, our treasury bills were sold at 7%. We call the country bankrupt, and within, that was April, end of April, it went up to 12. Then May, June, July, by December, it was 32%. Now it has gradually come down to 15%. If these treasury bills do not come down, we will never have a lower bank interest. If the bank interest does not go down, we won't be able to sustain our businesses, because we cannot go in for a facility even to pay our salaries. When we go in for a facility like OD, we pay at the rate of 20 to 32% just to pay your salaries. So how long can you sustain a business like that? So the government needs to look into that. And taxes, this unorthodox taxing has to be stopped. Cut government expenditure. What is 51% of the country's GDP? Cut that off. Start cutting from the top, not from the bottom. Don't cut the root. Cut a branch off. If you cut the root, the tree will die off. If you cut the SME, the country will die off. They got to realize that we are the root of the country. And these people are the leaves and the branches. They can be cut off. A tree will not dry. Same way the country would not dry just because the government expenditure has been reduced. Today, take every
But the government says that they have reduced.
Where have you been reduced? You take anybody, nobody is in their seat. Everybody has had a holiday. So if there's expenditure been reduced.
Yeah.
Do they have issues of fuel? Do they have issues of electricity? Do they have issues of trying to put food on their table? Do they have issues of paying salaries? No. It's we who have issues, because we are the people who are generating funds into the country.
Absolutely. A lot more to talk about with Tania Abeysundara, the chairwoman of Ceylon Business Alliance, actually Ceylon United Business Alliance, and she has been bringing up this issue, and she also provided some solutions for that. Let's talk about the future about this entire sector if we continue to proceed with this particular solutions provided by the government, IMF. But let's take a short commercial break. You're watching Get Real. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Get Real. I'm in a conversation with Tania Abeysundara, the chairwoman of Ceylon United Business Alliance. A very candid conversation, and thank you very much for being this open, madam. Let's talk about the future, because you alerted the officials saying that if you continue this way, you're looking at a shutdown of more than 1 million in the unemployment sector, and then more than 300 to 400 businesses might close down by the end of this year. What is the future for this sector? If you are the backbone, if you are contributing 52% of our GDP, if we continue this way, what do you see? Like, what exactly is the future? I'm basically asking you to predict with the data that you have.
Mahieash, like we predicted, and what has predicted has come to life, Mahieash. I mean, mind you, today nearly 20% of the SMEs have shut down, 30% are on the verge of shutting down. So if you were to calculatively, that's what I said, more than 1 million has gone out of their jobs. But if this continues, they have to realize their lifestyle. The government today, all government entities, how their lifestyle works around is the revenue collected over taxes and whatever the taxes, direct and indirect taxes. So this revenue wouldn't be collected for them to have this lavish lifetime if we were to close down one by one, because we are the biggest taxpayers in the country, direct and indirect. Not these blue chip companies, not these multinational companies, they hardly pay any taxes because they have the facility of evading their taxes, and if they have to pay taxes, even if you're brought into a court of law, they have so many ways of appealing over and over again, and they will have the best of the lawyers. When you have to pay in trillions, they will pay a couple of millions to the lawyers, and a period of 10 years they will drag this case. When the time when it's supposed to pay taxes, the money would have got depreciated so much, there is no value into that money. But if that happens to us, we would be put in jail for one thing. The second thing is the government has to realize if we are not being looked after, and we are not asking unreasonable things.
You're not asking for handouts?
No, we are asking to directly get involved as a government because we pay the taxes. And why are the taxes collected? Every country in the world, SMEs, when they came to a punch, they helped. Why? Because all this revenue collected was there to help them. But today all this revenue collected are spent on the government. And up to now, with their lavish lifetime, I mean, today you see, like we were just discussing during the break, those days a business class ticket to a foreign European destination was about maximum 500,000. Today it is about 1.9 million. Mind you, these people go with a harem. And whose money? It is our money. All government entities, anything, you take all sources, hierarchies are having a life of that lifetime. And blue chip companies and these multinational companies have no issues. Who are suffering is these poor people as us and the SMEs and the people who are generating the economical funding.
The reason that I actually need to mention the fact that you mentioned the business class ticket for government servants is because not because, they can go in an economy ticket, but apparently they're entitled, as per the law or whatever the rules and regulations they have. Government servants in each category is entitled to go in a business class, facility for government matters as well. And you're quite correctly right. I know this personally, where an entourage goes along with that, and they also get the same kind of facilities, and not just the ticket. Once you go there, you stay in good hotels, all that nonsense. It's all your money.
It's whose money? It's our money.
Exactly.
We are the taxpayers. We are the people who are generating direct and indirect funding to the government survival. So they have to realize to look after us. What we are asking is directly get involved with the banks to facilitate us. Because if our loans are being restructured, we are not entitled for a working capital loan. Now today ADB loans are being given at a lower interest of 8%. But these loans are very small amounts. Maximum you can get about 10 to 15 million according to the business. So with 15 million working capital is not even enough for us to even survive for 1 month. So why shouldn't us pay the penalty for their crimes? So that's why we are asking the government to intervene, look into us in a more broader, wider, humanely manner.
Why do you think they're not doing that?
I seriously don't understand, because they put everything on the IMF. IMF is not a god, mind you, they are human beings. If you don't have the ability of explaining yourself what exactly the country's situation and the people's situation, you're not even fit enough to sit on that board trying to explain.
And that's one thing that a lot of people are saying. It's not about that the IMF is the devil. The IMF is just a bunch of people sitting in Washington who are very much their allegiance is to the United States of America, and to make sure that the US is well taken care of around the world, and they do it very well. But what needs to happen is the negotiators needs to be more strong, and there have been very successful programs with the IMF in the past where officials actually negotiated better deals that is beneficial for this country. Let me once again rephrase that question that I asked you. Give us in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year down the line, what do you think if the government did not intervene and did not do their part in order to help this sector, what's going to happen?
Mind you, right now the consumer market has dropped by 60%. It has contracted so badly because we called it controlling the inflation. By controlling the inflation, we have created a recession. So controlling inflation is not increasing high taxes and increasing all utilities and everything into unbearable. That is not controlling the inflation. That is suppressing the inflation to show that you are, because if you don't have anything to spend, obviously you will have something remaining. So here the government has to understand controlling the inflation is not suppressing the inflation. Now the government has suppressed the inflation. By suppressing, the consumer market has got contracted so badly. If the consumer market keeps on getting contracted, what is going to happen is the SMEs, companies of our magnitude won't be able to survive. So if we start closing down one by one, by the year end, if another 20% is being shut down, look at the impact on the country's economy. Look at the impact that will happen with so many people going out of jobs, so many companies closing down. Where are they going to collect this revenue from? Are they going to keep on increasing and increasing to a position there won't be no more SMEs in this country?
The policies are basically killing the cow that gives you the milk.
Absolutely. Killing the chicken that lays the golden egg.
Exactly. Madam, very quickly, because we are running out of time, if you can tell, how can you help? Your entire sector can help. Like, we are in a financial crisis. The country is going through a lot of financial ailments that needs quick fixes, that needs to bring the country back into what it was prior. And I still don't believe the fact that Sri Lanka is bankrupt. I refuse to believe that, because I don't see that in the people who I speak to on a daily basis. They are determined to bring this out from this crisis, and they are angry at the officials who decided that this is bankrupt, because this has all what it needs. We are so stupid. Our people are so, the ones who are taking decisions are so, dumb that they don't see the problem and they don't see the solution is right there, right inside this country. So how can the SME sector help to get out of this economic crisis?
Mind you, Mahieash, I have a huge question mark. Now, we have been printing trillions of rupees. This rupee can be only utilized in this country. And we still say we are out of rupees. Where did all these rupees go into? So I call...
Maybe that 51% of expenditure?
The government has created a monster because most of the time these rupees are in the hands of the people who cannot bring the money into a legal system. We have asked the government demonetize funding, sequences. Where if you demonetize, where like India did, you have the ability of reprinting. Yeah. Then all this black money will be washed out. So I'm asking, where are all these rupees? Why do we have to print money? Where are the money that was printed? We can't sell the rupee. The rupee has to be used within the country. It's not dollars we have printed, where we can sell it off to another country's currency to buy something off. So where is this? So why is a government creating a monster and putting the blame on us? Please look into us with empathy. Because we are also human beings. We are people who have to survive. We love this country. We want something good to happen to this country. We are not against any government. We are only against policies that is being made. We are saying make policies that will make companies live, not only a sector live.
Exactly.
And today, the customs, the revenue generating, where the government can create a lot of revenue. It is the most corrupt system. Income tax is the most corrupt system. So why is this being not looked into?
Because I think the IMF has not told them yet.
No, they have. They have in fact told, I'm showing this letter, the last press release. It says their customs, our revenue department and their income is the most corrupt in the world's system.
Finally, then there might be a solution because, they worship.
Now they are saying, so we have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, Madam Tania Abeysundara from the Ceylon United Business Alliance for speaking to us and being very candid and telling us what the issue is and also providing us with solutions, not just complaining, but giving, what kind of things we can do in order to come out of this crisis. And I really want to emphasize on the fact that people like you all who are just still here and fighting to make this country better, I think the government should understand that don't drive them away. We have bucket loads of people leaving this country, professionals these days, and today at least there are a little bit of people still staying and saying no, we can fix this, we can get this out of this crisis. So the government policies cannot be designed as such in order to get rid of you also and make you all feel as if there is no point. And according to what you said, I think the government is pushing you there to that particular position, and I hope everybody wakes up and try to realize that. Thank you once again, Madam, for coming up.
Thank you, Mahieash. And just a little thing, lastly, I'm urging the President, if he really wants to make a change where he can, he should. This is the time.
Exactly.
And please do so.
There's an opportunity.
There is an opportunity. Thank you, Mahieash.
Thank you very much. All right, well, that's all the time we have for you tonight. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back again on Sunday on State of the Nation. See you then. Bye for now.
You're beautiful, and it's easy to see. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be. So won't you ride with me, see where this thing goes. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, if it's meant to be. So come on, ride with me, see where this thing goes. So come on, ride with me, baby, if it's meant to be. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But if it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be. Let's go. So won't you ride?